Welcome to our class number 4, our fourth and last week of this workshop, Watercolor 1. The picture that we are painting today, you already have that in your hands. Materials that we are going to need today, well, the picture, then a piece of watercolor paper. What else? We need our painter's tape, um, our set of watercolor pencils, a set of brushes. Basically, what we need is a brush that is the medium, the small one, and kind of big one. This is number 6. This is number 8, and this is a one that I'm not sure we are going to use, but that is number, I guess this is 14. Because it's a flat one. Probably we will use that on the next class, which is watercolor 2. Also, we need our set for sure of our watercolors and our palette. Okay, with that, some water and our napkin or kitchen paper. We are done. So we are going to start, as always we do, by framing attached to our pad our piece of paper, so that way our paper doesn't move. But also we are going to attach our picture next to, so we can see that all the time. So we finish putting the tape. Take your time. We take our time. You already know the reason because we do that, not only because we attach the paper to the pad, but also because that way, the work is a little more clean. And now we attach the sample that we have. I hope that you have the sample next to you. I printed that sample here because just of the reason of so you can see, you need the same frame, you can see everything. So it's a reason because I framed the picture a little as a small size. Okay, so we take our our watercolor pencils, and we are going to use the color which is kind of, it can be red, brown, or kind of lilac. We measure more or less the proportions, the proportion of the sky, the proportion of the land, okay, the field of flowers that we have, and we cross some lines, very soft lines, as always. You know that this line is going to disappear once we paint it with just with the water and the pencil and the brushes. All that disappear, and this is going to be a sky. Okay, I'm not going to do anything, just I'm showing you. Now I am kind of measuring the size of the flowers in relation with the space that we have. Okay, so the background, all this land background of the field of flowers is going to be kind of abstract. We are not going to make any details. It's going to be kind of a stain all the time. But we have these two flowers, these two big flowers that we have to think on. Okay, and we are going to do some details on that. So one is mostly a circle, and the other one is going to be kind of ellipse. So we are doing the ellipse. We are using, as you can see, we are using color that is kind of lilac, ulcerine, or red. You may see what you have in front of you. And I am putting the center of the flower with yellow. This yellow, is going to disappear. But at least we have this structure, and we know what we are doing while we are creating the background. Not too many details for the flowers. I think it's a good idea that we divide the flowers, okay, into like 8 different parts. And once we have that, we can sort of draw the flower. As I said, not too many details because you're going to see is nothing that we are going to do in this piece is going to be too prosaic. Okay, so we do that. Take your time. You have this kind of petals, okay, and you have the petals. The end of the petals is a little more regular. So try to work on that, and please take your time. Okay, so don't rush. Very good, very good, very good. So you have this size there. We keep drawing the petals and these lines. We go to the other flower. Again, we start with the borders, the outside of the flower, from the outside to the inside. Every petal, not too many details, very schematic. Now we remark a little bit the center of the flower with a red. So we are creating there some path of orange. We have the yellow, we have the red. And now we also, I am going to put some pattern of red in the center of the flower. Okay, basically that's just for me to remember that I have to have a little more of intense color in that part, and also to enrich the color that I am going to use later on the wet watercolor. Because you know that when you go over when I am the color that I am putting right now, when you go with your pencil with pigment, with your when you go over with your brush with some water and for sure pigment of watercolor, you dissolve the color that is already there, and so that enrich the color also. You mix. Now we are going to make some of these kind of like round circles there, a lot of them. in the field, okay, full of flowers, which is our background. There are many ways that you can do this. You can also work on this part as we work on the sky, that you must remember that you just wet the paper and you work with some drops of green and some drops of yellow, red, and some other colors that of the flowers that you have in the picture. But we are not going to do that right now. We are going to go in a little more traditional way, or maybe not traditional, maybe dry way. So I'm covering with these circles, and you are going to notice that we are going to work a lot on the background, even though we don't have a lot of details. I'm choosing another color, and so I've been doing red and this kind of brown. I'm gonna add later some yellow, and for sure you have as a general background some kind of green that we are going to work like in 3 different or 4 different layers, the green of the background. Gonna use now yellow, and now some also some answering or lilac color, which is what I am using right now. Some yellow to the center, red, now the green. There are some margaritas there, okay, that I'm gonna draw with the green, because the green is what you have outside the margaritas. And there are 2 or 3 margaritas that we are going to draw. The rest are just kind of circles. The rest of the flowers are just kind of circles without any detail. The margaritas may have some kind of shape. That's why I'm using the green. Okay. Okay, so now we are going to work on that sky. We let the lower part rest for now, and we are going to work with the sky in the way that you already know. So you wet the paper, and we are going to work with the blue. The blue that I'm using is the one that I like the most, which is tallow blue. You can use ultramarine or the blue that you have next to in front of you. Okay, so there is no any definitely blue that you have to use. That's up to you. So we wet the paper, and we are going to start putting the pigment, the watercolor, okay, in lines horizontally. We are going to apply the blue, okay, horizontally, starting in the upper part. So the upper part, as you see in the picture, also has more concentration of pigment. So you fill all the gaps, okay, but try to maintain, try to keep the sense of, you know, horizontal lines, okay. We keep doing that. So we mentioned now we are going to work on the lower part. We already wait a couple of minutes before we keep working on the lower part on the green. And for that, we are taking green. Okay, you can use any green you have. The key, as always, is that you're going to use um, the uh, ochre, yellow ochre. Okay, and you can use the yellow ochre, and maybe in some cases a little of blue is going to be okay. So now we are filling all these spaces, but those that we draw as flowers. This is the first of many layers that we are going to apply on the top of this green. Again, the colors that I use are basically green, any green you have. The key is to mix the green with ochre color, and probably you can add to that some brown. Yeah, you can add some brown or even some red sometimes. So there is not a really definition of the color that you have to use. Just try never to use just one color, okay, as the color that you have from the tube or from the cake. So you have to cook the color, or try to cook the color to get a color that is a little more personal. So remember that this is the base color. This is just the first green that we are using. We are going to work on the top of this with other greens that are going to be probably darker in a very always in a very loose way. All this background should be very loose. and you can see a little bit here, the green that is in the upper part of this fill, okay, is not as intense as the green that I have on the lower part. Try to do that. It's not indispensable that you do that, but try to do that, because the upper part of the fill is the part of the fill that you have far away from you, meaning that the colors are less intense. You have more atmosphere between the object and you. Okay, so I'm gonna let this dry for a couple of minutes before I go over and over with some layers. I have already waited, okay, a couple of minutes. My green is already dry, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start working on a green that is a little darker, okay. So, and I'm using brush which is the medium one, okay. So with a brush that is the number 6 probably, or the 4, you can work with that. So I'm mixing now. I'm mixing a green that is a little darker, okay. And for doing that, I'm mixing brown and green. As I said before, this part is very loose. What you're going to create some is on the top of the green that we already have, some like kind of a stain to create this texture of the multiple leaves and branches that you have as part of this field full of flowers. Again, what I'm doing is I'm not covering all the green that we already have. I'm just creating some texture, and for doing that I'm mixing some colors, okay. I have mixed green with brown with ochre color, so getting a green that is darker, and with that I'm creating this sort of very loose texture. And this is just a second. Probably we are going to do 2 more layers on the top of the green. So we keep working on that. Mixing more color. We let it dry. Now, and you see how the color is now that is the watercolor is dry, the color is less intense. So we can go to another layer now, even a little more intense. I'm doing that. Okay, I am putting a little more, even a little more of brown, and reshaping with that some of our margaritas first, and doing some dots here and there. I'm using here the tiniest brush that I have, and using a kind of brown mix with leftover of green and even some blue. The blue that I'm using now is the darkest one that I have, which is the ultramarine one. And here you can even use a little of black if you want. So you see that I'm not using a lot of this color. Okay, so basically some dots here, dots there, and that's going to be it. But it goes all over the place. So you can compare, with your picture, the picture I have on the left of the screen. Uh, I'm not really copying. I am doing an interpretation. Okay, so I'm just creating a texture, and then with the flowers you're gonna see I'm not really counting the number of flowers because this is not a copy. So you have like the picture is the inspiration. The picture give us an idea, okay, where the light is and what kind of color can we use, the kind of design slash composition that we are working with. Okay. Mixing some of the kind of the same color, so green blue, brown, probably some ochre color also. Notice that there is not a real plan. Okay, it's more this part, and the watercolor is a lot of, you know, intuition. Where to put that, because we are not really copying. I want you to have that clear. So we let it dry now. Couple of minutes. If you have hair dryer, you can do that. Now we are going to start with filling the gaps of the holes of the flowers. Uh, for for that, I'm mixing alzarine, uh, which alzarine is a kind of deep red. So it's a red that has some blue in it, and in a way that is, as I said, very very loose. Okay, I am just filling some of these holes there that I already have with some watercolor pencils. If remember, if you feel that in some of these cases it is too dark, or you have color that is too dense, just you can dry that out as is fresh, as is wet, with your napkin, and that's it, and you're gonna be done. So about the flowers, we are going to probably to work with 2-3 different kind of reds. Already the reds are enriched by the color that I have with the watercolor pencils. So you keep working. See also that the intensity of the color that I am using from here and there, even though the color is the same in some cases, just because I have already some color of the watercolor pencil that I did at the very beginning. Okay, the color is different. So the density is different because the color is less intense. I use more water. Okay, so I'm doing another watercolor, another color right now. This is this more intense carmine red, feeling exactly the same thing. So you see, now I have like 3-4 different kind of reds in between all these flowers. And we are going to keep doing this all over this field full of bloom flowers. Once I have that finished, and so you see many different colors. I let it dry. I have now the margaritas there and some other details that we are going to take care of later. So we let them dry, and also we don't pay attention. So later when we go over, the field of flowers, we are going to see some details that we haven't done, but we don't have the space to see those right now. Okay, so we are going to start taking care of the big flowers. And for the big flowers, mostly I'm gonna do this ulcering color, okay, very light. So this is just the first layer, and follow, okay, the rhythm of the petals. So that means from the center, okay, to the outside of the flower. If we feel that is too much, well, we use our napkin, okay, all around. And also with what I'm doing, and I'm gonna repeat, okay. So you're gonna create also the not only the texture of the petal, but also the feeling that this petal has some movement and some volume. Again, I'm gonna create some kind of pointing, okay, and doing this. So keep doing exactly the same thing, and then I'm gonna do keep doing this with the flower that is in the upper part. I will let those flowers dry, and then I will go over again like 2-3 times with some details. From the center to the outside, and then you go with the paper. From the center to the outside, and then you go with the paper. Okay, see what I'm doing right now. And now my paper. Okay, so my paper, I do this, and it has to be kind of fast so the paper doesn't dry. We keep repeating this, okay, until we finish with this flower, and then we are going to go to the other flower. Okay, try to go mostly from the center to the outside, and then dry out with the paper from the outside to the center. Okay, we go to the other flower, the upper part. Basically the color is exactly the same, and we repeat the same kind of technique. over and over. We remember that we are not touching the center of the flower, that we already have that kind of yellow. We are going to go over later on this center of the flower, okay? There is a little petal on the back that I didn't notice. You can avoid that if you want, okay? I'm just doing that, but it doesn't have any importance if you don't want to do that. Okay, while my petals and my flowers dry, I am using some of this leftover also to enrich and to create some dots of red on the, if you notice what I'm doing right now is I'm creating those dots on the top of the green, not even the flowers, on the top of the green. So you have this lot of dots that are kind of confusing, which is the feeling that we want to create in this field. So yellow also, some dots of yellow here, and the yellow pop up immediately, enriching the whole thing and creating this sense of multicolor. Okay, let it dry for now. We will go on the top of the flowers again. So I'm gonna do some dots, okay, on the top of the center of the flowers. Okay, I'm using some brown for that. Creating the texture that is inside this center of the flower. Doing the same thing in the upper one. And now working on with alzarine, okay, on red, carmine red, on the second layer for the flowers. I'm gonna even work a little bit mixing some blue. Be careful with the blue that you are using. It has to be a tiny little part of blue. Okay, so now we are defining the petals a little bit. So we go from the center, always with our paper. Okay, so our paper is our saber. In a way, we are drawing. Okay, so we are using our tiny brush, and with using really just the point of the hairs of the brush. Always with our paper. We will do exactly the same thing in the flower that is in the upper part. So. The color that I am using, one more time, okay, is a mix of alzarine, and to give the color a little more intensity, darkness, I have mixed that with a very little part of blue. The blue that I use is phthalo blue, the same blue that I have for the sky. Okay, we are getting okay to this last part of these flowers. Mostly we have done the background, so we keep working just on the petals of the flowers, the two flowers. More details. Even now we are working on a third kind of red, this dark red, and is on the top of the 2 or 3, I don't even remember, that we already have done. I am like kind of redrawing the flower, the petals of the flowers now. I am a very intuitive painter, so I don't really have a plan at the very beginning. My brain doesn't work like step one, step two, more or less. We have that in our, brain. We know that we have to start with the background, and the colors. The first layers of color um, have to be light. Okay, so you go in watercolor, you go from lighter colors to darker colors, and you have the light out of the white of the paper, because you in watercolor what you use is transparencies as a source of light. Um, I let it dry for now, and I am going to go to the other flower right now. Okay, so I'm taking care of the flower. Why I stopped a little bit, because I didn't want to mess up the flower that I was painting with, my hand. Huh? Because I have to go over with my hand on the top of this flower. So I prefer to let it dry. You can put even a paper too, okay? We are doing repeating the same thing, okay, from the center to the outside, creating the texture. This is the third kind of red that we are using. The mix is alzarine, which is dark, kind of cold red with a little of blue. If we think there is too much color that we are putting, we dry out with our paper. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to work on the center of the flower, okay? And for doing that, I'm creating a kind of orange color that I am putting like a transparent layer. You only can do this in watercolor when the paper is very, very, very dry, and you're creating a layer, a transparent layer, enriching the color. You are not erasing the color that is on the back. You are just enriching the color. And as I'm gonna do exactly the same thing with the petals, okay? Because I thought it's too pale the color, so I am using this kind of layer, okay, of color. Be very careful with this because you don't want to erase what you have done. So it's very, very, very soft, and don't go many times. This only works if you if the number one, the paper is very, very, very dry, and you work with not too much pigment, and it has to be fast. If you go over and over, you are wetting, okay, the color that is in the back. You are erasing what you have done. So be careful. I'm just with this. I'm enriching the color that is on the back. So what we are doing is we are using is in a way it's a glaze, okay. A little of brown plus blue and our red, and this is a very dark color that I'm using just for very tiny parts, okay, that I want to redraw. Okay, so giving some separation to the different petals. This is also going to be a very good color, a tool, okay, to redraw some of the borders from this flower and the one that is in the upper part, and even some of these margaritas. I may use this dark color, okay, to clarify those drawings. I'm gonna go for the one that is in the upper. Very careful. This time I haven't waited until my flower is dry, so I don't have to touch the flower with my hand. It's still very wet. And I advise you to do exactly the same thing with your flower. And I'm not touching the paper with my hand. Okay, so we more or less we have done our job. I am using leftover, okay, of the different colors, plus blue, plus brown, and and this is going to be probably my last detail, and see what I am doing. I am creating, okay, this line, okay, which is the line of the flower. Which is the stem, okay? So see that I'm working like many times, okay? So in a way I am erasing the color that is in the back, and then sucking up the water, okay, and the color with the paper. But still, why I'm using a color? I'm using a color, okay, because you have this still these lines, okay, with dark color. I hope that you understand what I know I'm not expressing myself very well, but I hope that visually you can understand what I'm doing. So you see, okay, one more time in this lower part. So you have this theme, and now the paper, okay, and you go like this. We are getting really to the end, and you can do many other details still. So if you want to work, you can work on the margaritas. You can add some more dots in the fill, okay, of flowers, and you can create things that are not there. Now, okay, now that we have getting to the end, we are going to do what I haven't done sometimes, because I always forget this part. Okay, so I'm taking out our sample, and I'm taking out ripping out the tape. Sometimes happening right now because I use a lot of water, but it's not damaging a lot. Okay, it's very little, because this kind of tape doesn't damage the paper too much. If you use artist tape, which is a little more expensive, you won't have this problem, which is not really a problem, and for practicing is okay. But you see how this work, and how the watercolor pop up and has more presence, looks more professional when we work with this kind of tape. And voila, I hope that you enjoy this, and thank you so much for being so attentive to this class. Thank you.